All right, in this section, I'm going to cover the question that is, do you have any tips or recommendations for more advanced gear? So this section is gear that's not required. It's not, required to come and shoot the match and have a good time. But if you were going to try to do the best you possibly could, what types of gear would you have? What types of gear are the top shooters in this discipline using? And I'll give you a little secret. It's very similar to PRS style gear. So, all right, first thing. So the optic, you can use any optic and be successful in this sport, but you're probably going to be more successful with a first focal plane optic. There's a lot of reasons for that. Basically, the sport is kind of precision oriented. If you have a first focal plane, then you can use holdovers no matter what magnification setting you have your scope set to. Even if you're using an LPVO, a first focal plane optic is still nice just in case you're doing holdovers and your magnification isn't exactly in the right spot. That's what I would use. That's what I'd recommend if you're looking to get into this. You can use second focal plane, but it's just gonna give you more potential to be making errors. So if you're really good and you really know what you're doing, a second focal plane is gonna be just fine. But first focal plane is probably what you're gonna want. Next, on your optic, a wider field of view is going to be better. It's just going to be faster for finding the target, less hunting around for your target if you had a wide field of view. All right, next, a low back pressure suppressor. So that brings up the point, suppressor versus muzzle brake. There's a lot to be said about a muzzle brake for a sport like this. I mean, your gun doesn't move as much, faster follow-up shots. You can see the bullets a little better. You can see the bullets splashing into the target, or maybe even see the bullets traveling down range. But the problem with the muzzle brake is it just beats you up. The whole day you're just getting concussion to the face, to the eyeballs, through the mouth, into the inner ear, through the mouth. It's just, a lot of people are moving away from muzzle brakes, especially now with modern suppressors that have muzzle brakes built in. You're kind of getting the best of both worlds. So this is an Otter Creek Labs Infinity can with their muzzle brake on it. Something like that kind of gives you, less recoil. It's a low back pressure suppressor, meaning your gun's going to run nice and soft, almost as if there was no suppressor on it at all. Not to mention less gas exposure. I mean, if you're trying to watch in your scope to see bullets, but your eyes are tearing up because you're getting gassed out, that's not going to help. What do we got? A suppressor cover. Really important on days, especially when it's hot out and there's not much wind. There's a lot of mirage that comes off of your hot suppressor, and it affects the light that's coming into your scope. The target's going to be blurry or moving, so that's not a good situation. So a suppressor cover is going to be really important. A low recoil operating system. So this is optional depending on what you're going for. The cool thing about this sport is you can either show up to a match with a rifle like this. This is just a Geissele Super Duty. This is basically in the exact same configuration that it came in as a complete rifle. I added an ARCA rail underneath here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I didn't change anything about the operating system. The gas port size is the same. I didn't change out the gas tube. It's got a Geissele H2 with their braided spring, so this is all standard stuff. And so this is tuned up for combat reliability, basically. And you can run a gun like this. Like, let's say you already have one of these. Maybe it's your working gun, or maybe you just want a gun that's geared more for, defense and combat reliability, and you want to use that gun at the match. You can do that. That's perfectly fine. Throw a suppressor on there and come have a good time. Or if you wanted to, you could tune the gun. This one is a little bit more tuned. So this is a Geissele barrel again. This one has their phase array gas system. I didn't actually change the gas ports up front, but I did add a little bit more weight back here just to slow it down a little bit. But feel free to use an adjustable gas block or a low mass, back end if that's what you want to use, a low mass carrier for less cyclic rate or cyclic weight. Just know that they tend to be a little bit less reliable. So if it's just a strictly competition gun, maybe that's what you want to go for, or maybe you want to go to the combat reliability setting and use that. So that's totally up to you. What do we got here? The Arca rail I already covered. So the Arca rail is really good for when you want to move your bipod around. So without detaching the bipod, you can just throw a lever and slide it to a new spot. That's the nice thing about Arca. A second benefit is that it gives you a wider, it's about 1.5 inch footprint. So for shooting off of support bags and props, it's just a little bit more stable than if you just had like a rounded M-LOK handguard. And lastly, Arca rail allows you to clamp other things on, like Arca plates, to give you a wider foundation. You know, just fun gamer stuff like that. So the beauty of the Arca rail is you can clamp it right on and take it right off. So that's really nice. Rifle balance. So if you're really getting into the sport and you're building a gun from the ground up, it's kind of nice to build the gun so that the balance point is a little bit further out from the mag well. So this gun here has a balance point right around there. I'd rather it, if it was strictly a competition gun, I'd rather it be out a little bit farther. That lets you put the gun right on your support bag and it just sits there. So how would you tune the balance point? I guess if you're building the gun from scratch, you'd probably spec out the barrel length and diameter of the barrel so that the gun would balance the way you liked it. Otherwise, you could add weights if you know, to the M-LOK slots if you really cared. But this is my open gun. It's got a 18-inch SPR contoured barrel and a full weight suppressor. It's probably a 20-ounce suppressor. Don't quote me on that, but and the balance point's about, let's see, without a suppressor or without a bipod. Balance point's right there, so pretty dang good. What's next? The trigger. You could put a lighter trigger in if you wanted to. In this sport, since it's based on speed, you're moving pretty quick and you don't really need a super light trigger. I think like a Geissele trigger, they're set to like 3 to 4 pounds, somewhere in there. I think that's about perfect. If it's too heavy, yeah, that could be an issue. You might be pulling the gun around a little bit when you're trying to pull the trigger. But I really don't think a super light trigger is the way to go, personally. Next, the safety. I think this is actually an important upgrade that you could do. So most traditional guns come with a 90-degree safety, right? Like this is the safety that came on this Geissele. The problem with a 90-degree safety is that you can't actually put the gun back on safe without moving your grip. Like, I like to be all the way up in my grip, right? This gives me a nice 90-degree trigger finger, gives me more control of the gun. So when I'm going back to safe, I literally have to go like this so that I can reach it. And that's why you see people, if you're watching videos, people are shooting and they kind of go like that when they go back to safe. It's because they literally had to like they had to go like this so they could reach the dang thing and put it back on safe. But when you're in a sport like this where you're constantly going fire to safe, I don't want to have to take my hand off my grip. That takes time, because not only do you have to take your hand off grip to go back, well then you have to put your hand back on the grip so you can move. So that's just extra steps. That's where the 45 and the 50 and the 60-degree whatever safeties come in. So with those safeties, I can get my full grip, my nice, high up, all the way into the gun grip, and I can move the safety without adjusting my grip. Like, I think this is a huge benefit. My favorite safety right now is made by Forward Control Designs. It's like a $100 safety dang near. So it's super expensive, but I think it's freaking awesome. It's their Q offset. I forget what it's called. It's like a 50-degree throw. It's made out of stainless, melanited, super like high quality, and it just works so good. This safety here is actually a Trigger Tech, and you can actually find these for like 50 bucks on sale. So I think this is my recommend if you don't want to spend 100 bucks on a safety, Trigger Tech. Otherwise, Forward Controls if you don't care about money. All right, what do we got next? The stock, collapsible stock. So you might have saw these guns and these stocks, and you might have asked, why is there not like a fixed PRS, Magpul PRS or something on there, right? Because these do move a little bit. And the reason is because, for one, the PRS stocks are like so damn long. Like, I'm a tall guy and they're almost too long for me. If I was just laying prone, I could make it work, but shooting off of props, getting into all these different positions, I want flexibility. I don't want a stock that's too long. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I have to come around to the side of the gun so that I can reach the scope, right? So that's where these come in. This is the Magpul DT PR. DT for dual tension and PR for precision rifle. That gives you this nice little bag rider right here. This is like super popular. Almost everybody's running the same stock. But I think you'll probably be happier if you have a collapsible stock like this. Shell catcher. So if you're doing reloads or you want to save your brass, the shell catcher clamps on the side of here and it catches all your brass. I'm sure you've probably seen some like shell catchers that aren't very good. The good ones are like $200 or $300, but if you're saving your brass, they're freaking awesome. The good ones, they don't jam your gun, like the brass clears and it falls down in there. They're really nice if you're looking for one. You could. I'm not going to recommend any, but let me know if you have any questions and we can talk about shell catchers if you're looking for that. All right, so some more things that are PRS oriented. A bubble level, right? So this gun has a bubble level on it. This is an MKM. What is it called? The XLP. Really nice bubble level. It's important that your gun isn't canted when you're shooting long range, because then you're going to be missing off to the side that you're canted towards. There's electronic versions of them, like an MDT. Send It level, they're called, where it lights up 3 different colors of LEDs. You know, green means you're level, or blue or red means you're canted. So those are pretty good. A dope card holder, really important for more complex stages. You can write down your dopes for different distances. You can write notes on there like, hey, don't forget to reload at this point, or whatever it is. Here, this gun has a turret tape. So these are really nice. You can actually put markings on this turret with wet erase markers with different colors. So I might set up my stage. Let's say I have a stage that has 2 targets. One of them's at 500 and the next one's at 800, right? I could mark my turret with a red or whatever color I want, mark for the 500-yard target, and then put another mark on there for the 800-yard target. And that's my dope card now, right? I can just go to the red mark or the other color mark and back and forth. I don't have to look at a dope card and read it and then convert that in my brain to a spot on this turret, right? Why not just put a mark right on the turret? They're so good. You can, you know, there's even room up here if you wanted to put like little notes in there. Theoretically, if you had a turret that was tall enough, you could put a lot of information on there, like what you do with a dope card. Let's see what else we got. All right, so now we're getting into the ballistic solvers. So a Kestrel or a ballistic solver. Important to have, not so much at the match we're going to be having, because we're at a known distance range. All of our targets are going to be at the same distance. So, I mean, once you know your dope, your bullet drop, kind of for that distance we're at, you're going to be using very similar dope for all the targets, right? But as you advance in this sport, or if you're into the PRS style shooting, obviously you already know all this. You already have a Kestrel, but you don't need a Kestrel. You could use a ballistics app on your phone. Heck, you could even use your computer at home and print out tables and tape them to your gun if that was more your style. Next, the rangefinder. Kind of nice to know what the distances are, to be able to verify distances of the targets. Make sure that the match director gave you the right numbers in the match book. But if you're newer to this, you can just borrow somebody's rangefinder or just share dope with somebody. That's an option. Next, we got spotting scopes, tripods or binos. Pretty important to be throughout the match watching downrange and seeing, you know, if you can get behind the shooter and you can kind of like see what's going on down there. You can gather information about what the wind is doing. You can look for like small details. You can look for mirage. You can just see a lot more that's going on downrange. And then we got a tripod. Tripods are good for spotting. You know, put your binos or your spotting scope on the tripod. It holds it steady. You can also use a tripod for shooting, whether it's shooting off the tripod, like clamping into it, or it's using the tripod for rear support for the rear of the gun. But in this game, since time is the thing that matters, lugging around a tripod and getting that set up isn't probably worth it. The targets are pretty generous, so a rear support tripod doesn't really show up, I don't think, in this sport. And lastly, a belt with mag pouches on it. So yeah, you're gonna have one primary magazine you're gonna start your stage with, and then to have a backup magazine in case you go through all your ammo, in case you're having trouble, is gonna be pretty important. So probably a belt is probably your best way to do it. It tends to not get in the way of laying prone, and that's basically what people do in PRS style shooting, is they have a mag pouch on a belt. But if you're new to this and you just want to show up and put the spare mag in your back pocket, that would be fine too. So that's about all I've got for the advanced gear. I'd say just show up to the match and you'll learn a lot, and you'll probably leave the match with a couple of things that you want to get next.